Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So I've got an idea for my next project, and it's going to involve my work setup here. So I've got a really nice desk out here in the living room. But the problem is, I want my work setup moved into a bedroom, just so that it's a little more quiet. This front door is not very soundproof, and there's a lot of noise that goes on and whatnot. So I want my work setup moved into a bedroom. And the problem is why I can't use this desk, even though it's a very nice desk, is it's too big. So the depth on this desk is 29.5 inches, which is, most standard doors, interior doors are going to be a 30-inch door frame. You're going to have to take a door off the hinge just to even fit it through the door, but that's not even the problem. The problem is that it will not physically fit through this hallway. Like, this distance here is much less than that. And then you'd have to, even if you could get it past that, you'd have to somehow get it in. Here's the bedroom that it's going to go into, that it would be going into. And then you'd have to angle it in from here. And it just physically will not work. There's no way, with it being as deep as it is and as long as it is. You see how long it is too. It's extremely long. Very big desk, and of course it comes apart here, and this desk is separate. But that piece there is not as deep or as long. It would fit fine, but this side will not physically fit, and you can't even go around that way. It's too big to fit that way too. It's just not going to work. So my idea is, I've got a desk in here already that has my gaming computer on it, and it's a decent desk I've had for a long time. But it's definitely not big enough to fit all my work stuff on. So what I was thinking was I could build like an L to go here, basically. It's not going to attach to that desk or anything, but it would just sit there, and that's where possibly I might move that tower, my gaming computer. Maybe build like a small box for it to sit on just slightly above the floor over here, and then those two monitors can go directly under this TV that's on the wall, and then I'd have enough room to put those other two monitors over here, and I'd have everything in this room. So that's sort of the plan, but the obstacle there is I've got to see if I've got enough wood to do that with what I've got here, just because I don't want to buy anything right now, and B, I don't have the means to get any more plywood here, like full sheet plywood, right now. So we're going to go out there to the workshop now and see what kind of wood I've got. I've just measured this desk as well. It's 30 inches tall. So we're going to go out there and see what I've got. I've got an idea of what we can work with. So alright, here we are out in the workshop, and as you can see, it's a complete disaster, as usual, because I'm sure, as most of you that have workshops know, whenever you do a project, you get that project done and then you're done. So there's messes everywhere, and there's actually messes in here from multiple projects, so that will have to get cleaned soon. But the idea I have is, let me move this table out of the way a little bit. So the idea I have is, I had a project that I kind of stopped work on a few years ago, and that was I was going to build a kitchen table, dining room table, whatever, to sit down and eat at, but it just wasn't going to flow right with this house. It was just going to take up too much space, and I just didn't like the idea of it. So I kind of gave up on that project. But what I had already done was I built these legs. And what these are is it's just a 2x4 that I've basically, two 2x4. Alright, so we're back in the bedroom where I want to put that desk. And so if I were to split that piece of wood, that plywood, down the middle, that would be slightly less than 21 inches deep, and then stacked them end to end, it would be about 84 inches long, which that would be like way too long. That would be almost all the way to here. That's way too long, but I mean, that's easy to fix. You just cut one of the pieces shorter. The depth would be 21 or 20 and a half, which is plenty deep enough, possibly even too deep. Get my tape measure out, so that would be to about there, right past where the edge of the keyboard is. So it would probably work being 20 and a half. And it's just going to be like a table, so it'll be open underneath, so I mean I could technically still pull up a chair to like the corner here and have plenty of leg room. The other option too, if that didn't work, is I could always just move this desk further out. I'd have to move some more stuff out of the way, but that would work. So that's probably what I'm going to do, is I'm going to get that, repurpose that wood there, because I just, like I said, it was going to go in this kitchen here, but this kitchen, it just would have been, see where this light is, that's where I wanted to put it, but it's just how the countertop ends there, and the flow of this kitchen just wouldn't have worked. So I actually had this table, I built this table and put this here, and that works good. I don't really eat at it usually, but it's good for junk, as you can see. So, but yeah, I think that's the plan we're gonna go with. We're gonna repurpose that, and yeah, I think we're gonna get started on that project. So stay tuned if you want to check out an awesome new carpentry project. Alright, so we are back in the bedroom where I want to add that table, and I just did some measuring, and it'll work out pretty well, I think. So if you were to split that wood in half, that plywood in half, it would be, a little bit more than 20 and a half inches deep, and then stack them together, it would be about 84, which it'll be too long. It'll come all the way to like somewhere around here, but you can always cut one of those pieces and make it a little bit shorter. So I think that'll work out really well. And then 20 and a half will be, it'll probably be slightly more than 20 and a half deep, but it'll come to about right here where this keyboard is, right about there. And so it's just going to be a table. There won't be anything underneath it, like anything like drawers or anything. So it would still work out if this desk was here. I could scoot my chair in here, and I still have plenty of leg room. Or, I could always still move this desk down this way, just move some stuff out of the way if it was a problem. So I think that'll work out really well. Repurpose that wood that's just been sitting in there for the past few years, and yeah, I think this is going to be a good project. So if you're ready to see some cool carpentry stuff, stick around, and I will catch you back in the workshop. Alright, back out in the workshop, and there's going to be a few other things that we're going to need, and that's some 1x4s. As I mentioned before, I've already got the slot cut out, and that's where 1x4 is going to perfectly sit on these legs. And so what I need is some 1x4 poplar, which is a good quality, stable hardwood, and I've actually got several of these here. I'm going to have to measure and see if I've got enough here, but I believe I do. Just these three pieces here. I've got some pine and oak, but I'm not using that oak. And then I've got some more. If we go over here, one, two. Okay, so there's two full ones here. So I think I have enough between all of this that I have here already, so that I won't have to go to the store, which is ideal, because using what you have is better than spending money. So if I have enough wood to get all of that done, the other thing I need is bolts to go through those, but I think I've got those somewhere around here. We can look for those later. And then the only other thing I would need is paint, which I don't know that I have paint. I've used most of my good quality paint up at this point. Some of this is like exterior paint stuff. I'm not using that on this, and I'm not using latex paint. This is latex paint. Don't want to use that for furniture. You can. It's just not ideal. It's not a good finish for furniture. Could always use this, which I have. If it's still good, I don't know if it's still good. I haven't opened that in like a year and a half. I could use that, but that's also not ideal because there's multiple types of wood. I mean, we've got poplar and then that plywood and then pine for the legs. So it would, because that's a clear coat, you would just see all that different wood and it would just look weird. So not ideal. And then let's see. Actually, I do still have. That feels pretty full. This may be what we use right here. So I still have quite a bit of this left. This is oil-based gloss white, and I've used it on a few different projects already. It's pretty good. I mean, it was pretty cheap, and it's like I said, I've used it on a few different projects, and it worked really well. So that's probably what we're gonna go with because I don't believe I have anything else. Nope, nothing else here that would be good for this. So, but yeah, luckily this will work. There'll be a white desk, and I won't have to spend any more money on anything, it seems like. So we'll see. Let's get started on this project with cleaning up the absolute disaster zone mess that this place is. So I'm gonna get started on that here soon, and I will see you guys in a minute. Alrighty, I took the liberty of cleaning this place up off camera, so it's a workable environment now. And I pulled out all the wood that I'm going to be using, which is this sheet of plywood, the poplar, and here are the legs again. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this sheet and we're going to rip it to size. Focus. There we go. We're going to take this sheet and rip it to size on my table saw. Thinking 20.5 is what I'm going to cut it to. And so we're going to do that now. Alright, we've got these two pieces ripped to their depth that they're going to be. Now the question is, how long do I want the table to be? And it's not going to be the full length of both of these. It's just way too long. So I think I've come to a good decision, and it's going to be, I'm going to cut one of these at 22 inches. And so that combined will be 63 3/4 length of the table, and then I'll have just this little cutoff that I can use for something else. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that now. Alright, so I've got these placed end to end. This is basically what the table's going to look like when it's done. This will be the top, of course. And we just want to see if these boards are going to be long enough to work for us. Looks like it'll be perfect. I think these were already cut to the same length. Yep, the same length. So those will be our runners, and then this one will be big enough to cut both end pieces for the framework to go underneath to support it. So now I just need to figure out how much of a lip I want here. Probably not too much. Maybe like an inch or so. And then once I get that figured out, I'm just going to measure between here and we'll cut this one to length. Alright, hopefully the air conditioner isn't too loud. Down here in the deep south it'd be hot, so need that air conditioning. So I got these fitted up. I think this is going to work out pretty well. We're going to have a little bit of a, this isn't lined up perfectly, but we're going to have 1.25 inch gap here on the face, or not gap, I mean inset. And so that'll just give us a little bit of a lip. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and clean up all these pieces of, like all these burrs that are on every piece, basically from where you cut. That's on every piece right now. So I'm going to go clean all that up by hand with some sandpaper. Get those ready to be sanded up fully. I'm going to take like this paper off, the tags and whatnot, just do some cleaning up. I don't think I'm going to film that because it's just kind of boring stuff anyways, so I'll bring you back once I'm finished doing that. While I was sanding, I figured it'd be a good time to kind of show what the leg is going to look like once they're in place. So this is kind of the idea. So that lip that I made, fits the board perfectly. So it's going to sit in there real nicely. And this will be butted. There shouldn't be a gap there once I get this in place in the end, but that's kind of the idea of that. I'm still not decided on how I'm going to attach it to these boards yet. I was thinking bolts, but that was when I had it, when it was going to be a dining room table and it was going to be bigger, like wider and everything. So the bolts would have been needed so that it could actually be moved in and out of rooms. Being that big of a table, but this being thin and just long, it could fit in and out of doors and rooms without taking the legs off. So I'm sort of debating on how I'm going to attach those now. I don't know that I want bolts on here because this is going to be closer to the end. The table, I was going to have this inset much further, like 2 inches or more. 2 or 3 inches, so you wouldn't really see the bolts, but here you'll have kind of a better chance of seeing those bolts if they're there. So I mean, either way, I'm not really that worried about it. The looks of this, it's just, you know, I just need a table, really, a desk. So I'm still tossing around ideas, but at any rate, that's the idea for the legs that I had built. And then there's going to be a little bit of work that still needs to happen to these legs. As you can see, this one is probably just needs a little bit of sanding to get it flush and level, because it's a little bit crooked. If you can, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but that's kind of how it should be sitting, and it's sitting like that. And that's just because I've got to square up this face with a little sanding, but that's it. Other than that, they're ready to go. So I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to get these boards cleaned up, the ends all sanded, and I'm going to go ahead and sand all the faces down with either 150 or 220. These are already pretty much finished pretty well because they're planed from the factory, but I might hit them down to 220 grit, or hit them down with 220 grit sandpaper, but they're not going to need too much, neither will this plywood, to be ready for paint. But there's another thing I was just thinking of too, is I'm probably going to cut, I've got some more poplar over there, I've got this little drop piece here, and yeah, that's perfect. So that's big enough to make one more cut with. What I need to do is I need to do at least one more support in the middle of this table that'll go between those. Might do two, and the reason is I could put two, one on each side of this gap here where this plywood is, and then I could have 2 points to attach the plywood down to, so that it's just very secure. I mean, it's again, I like overbuilding everything I do, so it's not necessary at all for this, but you know, whatever. I've got the wood, and if that's what I'm going to do, that's what I'm going to do. So at any rate, let me stop babbling here and get some of this stuff sanded up. This is going to take me a little bit, so like I said, I'm not going to do that on camera. It's just boring. So I'll bring it back once I'm done. So one trick with sanding that I've figured out over the years is I like to use old towels to put underneath, and there's a couple reasons for that. The first reason is it makes it hands-free, as far as you don't have to hold the board while you're sanding. So instead of, you know, holding it, sanding one side, flipping it over, you can sand it without holding it, because the towel holds it in place. The second reason is because if you are sanding both sides, you need both sides finished. If there's small chunks of wood or whatever on your top, or your top's not like perfectly clean, and there's like grit, whatever, as you're sanding this side, obviously that stuff's going to mess up your beautiful finish that you just sanded on the other side. So this prevents that. So that's just I don't know if, I won't say I invented it, but I kind of figured this out over the years of doing woodworking. This is just something that I do now every time I sand something. As you can see, that's way easier than just dealing with trying to hold it. So, alright, sanding is done, at least for the boards. The plywood still needs some sanding, but I'm not as concerned with that yet. So all I did was I just, of course I sanded the faces of all these with the sander, and then the edges, I just used my hand sanding block with the 150 grit, and just lightly sanded the edge. The edge don't have to be sanded perfectly or anything like that. And then the corners, I hit it with the sanding block as well to take the sharpness out of it and to hit any burrs and just loose wood. So these are all good to go. What we're going to do now is we're going to figure out which face of the plywood is going to be the face that's going to go on for the top of the table. So we want the nicer piece to be on the top. So we're going to inspect each side and kind of figure out which one we want for that. So based on you know, if there's any imperfections in the wood or how rough it is. Like this side's pretty rough. It's got all this staining in it from something, I don't know what. It's looks like glue from the when the plywood was put together, staining through. Got a little bit of blue paint here from prior project I worked on, I guess. But I mean, either way, either side of this one will work fine. But I think I'm going to use this side. This side's a little bit less stained. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip that over and put that face down, since we're working with the bottom of the table right now. And then look at this one. This side's not too bad. And this side has knocks throughout, and it's got a bunch of dings from something. So this is the side that's definitely going down. It's nasty looking too. It's got all the, I guess, the glue bleeding through. It's got some blue paint over there. So this sat over there for 3-4 years. So, you know, stuff happens over time. So this is definitely going to be the bottom of this piece. So now that we've got that figured out, I'm just going to rough sand this again. I might switch the sander to 120, hit this first, and then hit it again with 220. But this is going to be the bottom of the table, so it's not that big of a deal to be perfect. I'm just going to make it kind of nice and get all the spider webs on here, and dirt and stuff, so the sander will take care of all that. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then I'll bring you back and we'll figure out the next step. I figured I would take just a couple seconds to kind of give you the rundown on the difference between the different plywoods. So if you look at this plywood here, how plywood is rated is how many plies it has, which is basically how many strips are glued together. So if you see this is 3/4 inch plywood, and this is only 5 ply. This is basically sheathing, which is what you put on walls or you know, roofing, stuff like that. It's not something that you build nice stuff out of it. I mean, see, like here, this is sheathing. This is more of that sheathing here. I mean, for a workbench, like in here, it's fine, perfectly fine. That's what this is. This is sheathing. This is 3 ply, and this is only 3/8 inch. That's why it's 3 ply. But that's sheathing. So if you're building something nice, especially if it's going to go inside the house, if you're building a cabinet per se, you're not going to want to use this. Do not use this. Many reasons not to, but it's not as stable. It's not as strong. Its finish is usually pretty bad. And like, look at this is just where the wood's splitting apart and stuff. So this is not finished grade ever. You never use that for finished grade. What we're using, this is called cabinet grade, and it's kind of like the next step up. This is 6 ply, and you can see there's many more layers, so that makes it more stable. It's stronger, it's better. And this stuff usually has one face, one side of it that is good quality, and then the other side of it is kind of good quality. So it's not guaranteed that both sides will be perfect on these, but usually they're pretty decent, and they're far better than the sheathing style. And then you have another grade above that, which this is birch plywood, and this is a 10 ply. See how small and thin those strips are? And this is, of course, your most expensive piece. That's a 3/4 inch. All these are 3/4 inch that I just showed. And this is going to be the best that you can build anything out of. And in fact, this is what I use to build my kitchen cabinets. And there's videos on that on the channel. But that's what I use for the kitchen cabinets. I could have gone with this. This is perfectly fine, but I wanted the best of the best for those. You're going to put that much effort and time into it. You want to be working with good quality material. You don't want any issues. And even though cabinet grade is pretty good, you still can get voids, and you still can get cracks. And like a void is just like a hole. I don't see any on this piece, but like stuff like this, where this is just like a knot that was kind of halfway filled in, or crap like that. You don't want that on nice furniture. So basically, the birch is going to be perfect finish on both sides. You could actually clear coat this, whereas the cabinet grade, it's possibly that you could clear coat it, but you probably don't want to. Versus the birch, you can clear coat both sides, because as you can see, I mean, that's pristine the way that looks. And the only blemishes you see are because this piece is like 5 years old. It's been sitting in here and it's been knocked around a little bit. But straight from the store, I mean, it's going to be perfect on both sides. You're going to have no issues finishing it with however you want to finish it. So that's just a quick rundown. Not all plywood is equal. And the price is not always equal either, because especially nowadays, the prices have gone insane. When I bought these, back in early 2020, I bought 4 sheets of 4x8 birch plywood. They were $46 each in early 2020 when I bought those. If you look at those now, they're about $86. Unfortunately, that's just the way of things. How it goes, this sheathing is about $40 now for that 4x8 sheet of that. And then this is going to be about $60 for the cabinet grade. So prices have gone way up, about double what they were 4 or 5 years ago. But that's just the world we live in. If you're building nice stuff, your bare minimum cabinet grade plywood is what you're going to want. So anyways, just figured I'd give you all a quick rundown on the different plywoods. Alright, I've got these pieces mocked up. I took measurements. This is exactly where everything's going to be when it's put together. How much of a lip is going to be on each side and all that is, this is exactly where it's going to be. So what I got to do now is I'm going to cut out one piece for the middle here and kind of see if, like I was saying before, I might do 2, but it's just kind of don't need to for this. So I'm going to cut out this one piece. I'm going to kind of put it in there, kind of see how I feel about it, if I want to cut out a second one or not. We'll see. I have not sanded the top side of the table, which is going to be the side that's laying down, because that'll be the last thing I do. Once the table is, pretty much done, put together, it'll get turned over, and then I'll do the top. I mean, like I said, that'll be the last. Like after all this is painted and everything, that'll be the absolute last thing. There's another idea that I'm kind of playing around with, and that's possibly putting a little trim piece around this edge. I've got poplar. I don't know if I have enough poplar, but I might to put a trim piece around this whole edge. So I'm gonna think about that and see how it goes. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut the one piece to go in the middle there, and then we're gonna kind of see how we feel, if we want to add a second one or not. Alright, so I've got it mocked up here, and this is how it would be. I made a mark at the exact center, and I've just got it to one side of the mark. You could center it up on the mark, you could put it on one side, whatever. As long as you're consistent on each side, it doesn't matter. So what I've done is I put a clamp on each side, and that's so that I can still access this if I wanted to go ahead and put staples in here. Not sure we're going to go do that yet, because one thing that I've seen, and this is common for boards that come from the factory, but sometimes there's slightly different sizes, and as you can see here, I didn't do anything to these boards except for sand them a little bit, and you can see this one is, but they're flush down here, but this one's just slightly wider than these two middles, and so is this one. These outer pieces came from the same board, so that unfortunately bothers me to the point where I'm going to have to fix that. I'm going to bust out the small table saw down here, and we're going to trim those up so that they're flush to these, because that's, like I said, that just bothers me too much, to have those different widths. Other than that, the other thing you want to do to kind of make sure, I mean, this is all overkill for what we're doing, but to make sure that we're kind of in line with, you know, all your measurements are good to go, is this overhanging at all down here? And it's not. They're pretty much squared off, and that's good. And another thing you could do is you could just put this up here and kind of measure and feel if it's longer or shorter, because these are actually going on the end caps, so they go the full length or the full width, versus this went in the center, so they were a different measurement and different cut. And then to make sure that these are perfectly parallel here when you're clamping, you just take a tape measure and you measure at your clamp point here the distance and the distance, and make sure those are exactly the same, and then you know these are going to be parallel perfectly to where you're getting accurate measurements and estimates for all your pieces. So I'm going to get the table saw set up. We're going to trim these and make them perfect, or at least closer, because this is not cool for me. So we're going to trim those up, and I believe we're just going to stick with the one board. There's really no point in such a small table. This is going to be attached, you know, all along here with staples, wood staples. So, and since this is a stable plywood, it shouldn't be a big deal. I've got metal straps that you could technically screw in, so you could put the strap here with screws on each side, and that would definitely make sure that the table doesn't sag or anything. But see, the thing is, this is only 20.5 inches deep, so there's really no room for this to sag at all, being 3/4 inch plywood and how this, you know, smallest table is. If this was a big table, you know, talking like a 4-foot span with this two pieces, yeah, you definitely want to do something about that. But for this small project, that's not a big deal. Alright, so here we are in the outside portion of my workshop. I've got it set to take about half of a blade width off of there. And then I've got a very fine tooth finish blade on there, so it shouldn't mar up the edge or anything. I'm still going to have to sand it a little bit again on the edge that's cut. Just the edge, the corners and everything will have to get sanded again, but it shouldn't need too much. So let's get this cut and see how it fits. Alright, this is that piece, and it is pretty much perfect, exactly right where it needs to be. So we're going to get this one's going to have to get a little bit of sanding, and we're going to get this other one done. Trim this one up. This one seems like it needs a little bit more than the last one. It was pretty close, but either way, it's about half a blade width. Alright, and this next one is perfect. I'm surprised. It only took me one cut each of them to get them perfect. So that's the first. Maybe not a first, but usually when you're trying to get something exact like that, it takes like 5 cuts. It's like, you know, a little tiny bit off each time to get it close to perfect, and it's closer and closer each time. But alright, we're going to take these, sand up these 2 edges that need to be sanded. Then we're going to fit everything up again and decide on next steps at that point. Alright, we are ready to go. I've got my clamps in place. ready to go. We're going to be using staples, 1.5 staples to attach these, and glue, of course, wood glue. So part of me was trying to decide on how I was going to attach the top to this frame, and I was originally thinking I was just going to do staples through the top into this, but the more I think about it, the more I kind of don't want to do that, because that's a lot more work to fill those holes and with wood filler and all that. So what I'm thinking I might do, and this is not going to be done today, because I've got to get, once I get this all together, I'm going to let this all dry for a day before I do anything else. But what I'm thinking is, this is the cut off end of that piece that we just cut for this. And I've done this before on projects where I'll attach to the corners. So I'll attach it to the frame here, and then this will serve as something I can use an 1.25 inch screw to screw into the top in all 4 corners, and that'll be good enough to hold the top on. So two benefits to that would be, one, what I just mentioned, you won't have anything on the face. You won't have any nails or staples going through the face to fill or deal with. And then the second benefit is the top would actually be removable in the future if you ever needed to for whatever reason. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of. We've got this piece here. I need 3 more, which I save all my wood scraps for a reason. So this is another piece of poplar right here, and that's more than long enough to make 3 more of those little squares. So that's kind of the idea. Again, that won't be for today, as once I get this stapled and glued together, that I'm going to let this dry for a day. So we'll ponder that, think about it, sleep on it, and I'll come to a final decision on how we're going to handle that. But that's the idea anyways. For now, I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to get glue, and we're going to put both these ends on and staple them, and then we're going to clamp it, and then I'm going to remove those clamps and do the same thing to that, glue and staples. Alright, and this is where we will be leaving it for today. Waiting for it to fully dry and harden up. And so why I put these napkins under here is just to soak up any glue that runs down. When you squeeze them together, it's going to squeeze out that side, and over time some will run out. I didn't put an excess amount of glue, so there shouldn't be too much, but that'll help absorb that glue and keep this from actually gluing and sticking to the wood, to the top. I mean, that's not the end of the world if it did, but it's just a lot easier to deal with if you don't let it do that. And so it will stick to this napkin, and it'll whenever I go to, we'll show you next video what that's like. But it's just, you take the napkin off, some of the napkin stays behind because it's glued, and then you just sand it, and it's, like nothing was there. So it's just, this is another one of those tricks that I've figured out over the years of doing carpentry stuff. It just works for me. It makes my life easier to do, and it's just one of those things that it doesn't seem like it would help you at all or do anything, but it does. So the other thing I did was, when I was putting on the ends, I had some of these blue clamps clamped down to this end, and that was just to hold these from moving, because whenever I knew that whenever I was going to be stapling these, that I was going to have to be putting a lot of pressure against them to make sure that they were really tight, and you have to adjust it and make sure that it's just as tight as can be whenever your staple is in. So you can't do that if this is loose and you're trying to push it and it's sliding off. So just put those clamps down there for that, and then as soon as I was done with those just got removed and weren't needed anymore. We put these pipe clamps on to squeeze these, and then these standard F clamps for this. Only one staple into that, partially because you don't really need more than one, but the other reason is because my bar clamp's in the way down here, so you can't really put two. But when with the glue, it's not a big deal. Not going to matter. Anyways, that's where we will leave it for today and this video, and we will come back and probably, depending on what I've decided for how I'm going to attach this to the top, we'll figure that out. Actually, one thing I just realized is that's not going to be possible because of these. These going right here. So again, that's for next time. I will think about how I want to do that. It may just end up being what I originally thought of, which was staples through the top here and there, and we don't need a ton of those. I could just do those with glue and it'll be good. But at any rate, I will catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching and hope you enjoyed. See ya.